Hello there, Coborn Knope here, welcome back to another video. So the first two episodes of Maul Shadow Lord have dropped, and so far it's met my expectations. So this review will have spoilers, but if you're just wanting to know if it's any good, I would say it's a pretty solid start to a Star Wars show, and I would recommend watching. The art style is great, it has a darker tone to the animated stuff that we're used to. Introduces some cool characters as well that I'm looking forward to getting to know more of. However, if you're one of them people who just prefer to binge watch a series, I'd say hold off for a little bit, because these are releasing weekly. And the ending for the second episode is a bit abrupt, but overall it's a pretty solid start to this series. So to get into more detail and into spoiler territory, I thought the opening was a pretty cool setup. I did kind of hope for a flashback or something just to explain that bit of gap in between the Siege of Mandalore and how Maul's ended up here, but I suppose it's not really necessary for this story. I mean, as long as you know who Maul is, then you're pretty much sorted. I just want to say straight off the bat, the show just looks incredible. I know everyone's been saying it for the trailers, but it really does. It really is just the Clone Wars animation at its best, combined with the kind of painted textures, especially in the backgrounds. I'm pretty sure the backgrounds are just straight up paintings, which are gorgeous to look at. So it starts off with kind of Maul's crew, I suppose, just flawlessly executing Maul's plans to kickstart a fight between two heated rivalries already on Janix, both of which have betrayed Maul at some point. So he allows them to kind of fight it out and then step in last minute, so lets them do the dirty work for him essentially. I really enjoy seeing this calculative side of Maul. We're usually just so used to seeing him being blinded through rage and anger, which of course he still has those things, but with how the galaxy's changed and the situations he's been in, he's gained the title of, Shadow Lord I suppose, but he's had to learn how to gain power but not gain too much attention to himself, but not as of yet as well. But the Empire is a huge threat to even Maul. So he's kind of had to slow down his pace and gather his thoughts and come up with a slower but more effective solution, which I'll get onto later. So this introduces us to the character of Luti Vario, who's a quite amusing character, to be honest. He's slightly comedic, I suppose, especially for the tone of the show, but he kind of has like a big mouth on him, but as soon as danger occurs, he kind of squeals a bit. But I mean, to be fair, if Darth Maul himself is threatening you, who wouldn't? But then as soon as he knows he could get himself out of situations, he kind of goes big mouth again and gains his confidence back. So he's quite an amusing character, and I hope Maul doesn't kill him off too soon. So he's one of the crime bosses that Maul is targeting, but because of the information he has on the Pikes, who Maul seems to be more angry at, he keeps him alive for the sake of information. So Maul is still controlled by his need for revenge. He always goes for the bigger fish. So yeah, he could have killed Vario then, but if not killing him can lead him to the Pikes, and then the Pikes can lead him to whoever he's angriest at. But we learn that he's most angry at Sidious still, so it's interesting to see how that's going to go down, considering now if he's going to fail quite miserably. So as this is all kicking off, we're introduced to Captain Brandon Lawson. So he's kind of a respected detective who kind of bends the rules a bit in his favour, but not in a corrupted sense, not for any power complex reasons, as he genuinely seems to do it for the sake of the planet and the people living on it. So his tensions seem pretty good. He also isn't following protocol to the bone, as he's just trying to avoid Imperial presence on Janix, knowing that once they're there, they're there, and he wants to just take care of things himself. Everything just gets smoothed over, and the Empire don't have to get involved. He also has a son as well, who he seems to care for, but doesn't really have enough time to spend with him. So he's got a lot on his plate at the minute, and for Maul to come into that, then it's going to get messy quite quickly, and we know the Empire is going to come in eventually, so he's not going to be having the best time during the series. But I'm intrigued to see the fate of this character, if he'll end up getting a happy ending, which he seems to deserve. I mean, there's a season 2 on the way, so who knows, he might get an ending at the end of this season, it might continue to next season, but he's a very interesting character so far, and I really like his partner, the droid called Two Boots, who's voiced by Richard Ayoade, who just pretty much has a perfect voice for a droid in Star Wars, especially like a slightly comedic one as well. So with all that drama going on surrounding Maul and the crime syndicates, we have a pair of Jedi who are introduced. So we have Master Iko Dio Daki, which is a very interesting name. He's trying to keep his head down alongside his Padawan Devin Izari. So obviously Order 66 has not long kicked off. They need to keep their identities quiet, and they're just trying to get through each day, I suppose. But there's inner conflict with Devin, because Master Daki is very set in the Jedi way still, so he still doesn't use the Force to his advantage. He still believes in good in the galaxy, galaxy despite all that's gone on. Whilst Devin can literally see all around her that people have become kind of more selfish now. And the galaxy's not what it used to be, and she's willing to use the Force in order to, for slightly selfish reasons, but in the name of survival. So it's an interesting dynamic, although we don't get to see much of it because Devin gets separated shortly after. After using the Force to steal some food, she's then arrested, which, I mean, I thought was a slightly silly reason for her to be arrested, but it's just a subtle way of showing how she's willing to stray a little bit from the Jedi path. I mean, from such a minor thing, but obviously we're going to see that grow eventually, especially when she meets Maul later on. So Maul breaks into the police headquarters. There's a lot of slaughtering with this gang. Again, you get to see some darker scenes, although you don't really visually see much, but it's all implied. And it's quite refreshing to get a show just surrounding a villain as well. So that's the point where Maul breaks Lutey out of prison, but that's also the point where he meets Devin, and he believes her to be his next apprentice. And that's kind of where that episode ends. Not so much happens in the second episode, but it's more just adding on to what was established in episode 1. So the second episode starts with a little bit of an action sequence. So we see Master Daki get himself involved, stop Maul's transport. So he kind of reveals himself, but then there doesn't seem to be any consequences of that as of yet. He saves some civilians, Maul gets away. You also see Detective Captain Lawson also turn his attention straight to the civilians, so you can see where his priorities lie, which is good. And then Master Daki just kind of disappears, and then there's no mention of him having the Force by anyone after that, so I'm interested to see if that actually goes anywhere in the next episode. And then Maul makes his breakaway. The episode slows down from there, but still advances the plot, so we find out more about Maul's plans, how he actually is still, Sidious is still his top priority, but he wants to make Devin his apprentice. She's in a very vulnerable spot at the minute. She's questioning the Jedi ways because of how times have changed, and Maul's trying to come across as not as evil, I suppose, as he is. He mentions the fact that it's not as simple as good and bad, and he can show her new ways, which is kind of exactly what she wants. So whether he'll be successful, we don't know. I have a feeling he will be, especially since I think Master Daki will die soon. I thought he would have by now, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure Maul is going to take him out at some point. I'm just also interested to see how Maul would handle an apprentice. I don't know how much patience he'd have for one. I mean, he already seemed to lose patience to Devin, waiting for her to stop being stubborn and use her Force abilities to escape her quote-unquote capture. He also successfully kills the Pikes that he was after, so I'm intrigued to see who his next target will be in the next episode. Whilst that is going on, Captain Lawson is just trying to figure out who Maul is pretty much throughout the episode. Get a glimpse into his life. He briefly sees his son, although he has to pretty much head straight back to work after that. And his son is very reminiscent of how his family used to be because the mother isn't in the picture anymore. And I'm intrigued to see if he actually comes into the plot. He's more just there for Lawson's motives. And then the episode ends when Devin breaks out of her cell, which I mean is a bit of an abrupt ending to the episode, but I'm very, very intrigued to see what Devin and Maul's dynamic is going to be like. That's what excites me the most for next week, and I imagine the Empire might get introduced to the story. But overall, this is a very solid start. It has a nice pace to it, nothing seems rushed, it's quite serialized. When we had the Bad Batch, for example, there'd kind of be a story for every episode, and then it'll all link together for the finale, whilst each episode of this seems like it's gonna just lead to the next, which, I mean, sounds obvious, but the season is gonna be one big arc, which I'm excited to see because we've not really seen that for Star Wars animation before. I'm enjoying all the new characters, I'm enjoying the art style and the score as well. I've not mentioned the score, but I was getting a lot of Attack of the Clones vibes in the first episode, which I enjoyed. But yeah, I can't say I have any criticism towards it at the minute. I'm just looking forward to what comes next week. So that's it for this video. Let me know what your thoughts are of it. I'm quite excited. I thought it was a great start, great introduction to all the new characters. If you haven't already, feel free to check the socials in the description. Thank you all very much for watching, and may the Force be with you.